The report has it that almost a third of working women nationwide now out-earn their husbands, with more women choosing careers that only a few years ago were province of men. Better jobs and better money have become available to them. In continuation of the topic we once discussed, we have some gentlemen in the studio to help us to get their own perspective. And we also have Laide Alabi joining us. Welcome to the show.
I did introduce me without saying Laide is in the building. It's now my trademark when I'm coming.
Laide in the building.
Yo.
Yes. And we have Ade Bantu. He's an artist and a member of Bantu. And we also have our life coach who will be helping us to balance, because we want him to bring the professional perspective to this so that men understand, because we need our men to really get educated and informed. So we have Praise Forward in the building. Welcome to the show. We'll probably, because we've had females' perspective before, I'll come to Laide a bit later. Let me start with you. And your views. When a woman earns more than you, how does that make you feel?
I don't feel bad at all. It's support. Relationship is about two people coming together and bringing all their resources together, having a joint account, making sure that we work on our dreams and trying to make things happen. So I don't have a problem with it at all.
I don't believe you.
No, it's a fact. I am in a relationship and I am an artist. So as an artist, I don't have a steady income.
Right.
I have a partner that has a steady income. So sometimes she earns more than I do, and I seriously do not have a problem with it.
Okay, so a question to him. Sorry, Mariah.
But let me add this to it, maybe just to give you a bit of a background. I had working parents. My mom wasn't a home mom. You know, so she was making money, my dad was making money. They had a joint account, which was pretty much odd or different at their time.
So if your partner took money to buy herself a brand new car right now, would that upset you from your joint account?
No, not at all.
Okay, let me come to Laide, because I know you've had, so you have stories from different people. But in your views, what do you think about it?
Nothing about life I don't have a story about. Concerning what he said, joint accounts you should have, yes. In this regard, it might suit you because you're the one with the regular income, right? Assuming you had the bulk of the money being made, but that's not the case. You may not think that way about having a joint income because she would then have access and be able to spend it as she wants. But what I know about women is, because I watch a show, and the ladies are doctors, the men are coaches, of course their wives are making more money than them. And one of them went to buy herself a Maserati. She owns most of the money.
Yes.
But it was still an upsetting thing for her husband because it was like, you don't make major purchases without consulting me.
Very true.
Because that's what joint accounts are. Yes.
It's
not our nature.
When you come to praise, we had this conversation a couple of weeks ago, as I said, and I'd like to ask you directly, why do men have a problem with their wives earning much more than them? Why is there such insecurity, especially even when the woman tries so hard to bring herself down? But every little opportunity a man gets, he tries to make it look as if, is it because you're earning more money? So why do men have those issues?
Okay, I want to assume that you're talking about African men or Nigerian men, because when you say men, you're talking about universal men. Now, so if we're not talking universally, because culture plays a lot of roles when it comes to marriage.
True.
Now, our culture doesn't understand what it means to be a couple. So you cannot blame our men. You know, because couple, and I always say to people, the best way to understand couple is to go to a mechanic and understand how they couple an engine. Now, that when you couple an engine, they become one, indivisible. Now, when people don't understand that, all these things, my money, your money, becomes a problem. Now, our men usually, from culture, have always been the breadwinner. So, it's shocking that a lot of people don't know that I see people even in faith teach it. Breadwinner syndrome is an invention of the British community. And they've even snapped out of it. They started after the Second World War to say, let the men go to work, let the women stay at home with the children. They withdrew the women and the children from workforce, right? And so the men were making more money. And because they colonized us, we naturally fell into that category. Now, so a lot of our men are not used to situations where the women now earn money. And that's why it's almost like a culture shock for many of them.
Okay.
However, when we begin to understand that there's nothing called your money, my money in a relationship. The moment you're a couple, what the two of you earn becomes your internally generated revenue, right? So and it must go in the direction of the family economy.
Right.
Once you understand that, so the issue of he wants to buy a car, right, it needs to be discussed. You can't just, because when you take money, because the family is the most important nation on earth, when you take money, right, without discussion, without a budget, that's actually looting in the family.
Yes, the way.
So you see, the thing is, whenever you come here, there is a fair share of bashing and agreement. The culture is different from what you're preaching.
Yes.
And which is why we're bringing you to help them understand it. How do you deal with a man who's wired to understand that my role as a man is to be the breadwinner? And the fact that you're earning more money, even if you sneeze, it is disrespect to me.
Yes.
You see, that's the thing. A lot of women, they've humbled themselves so much in that marriage where they earn more money. But once they sneeze, literally, I don't want to eat what you are eating. It's because you are earning more money, you can be cooking your own pot of soup differently. And in that time, she just wants to lose weight. It has nothing to do with the fact that she's earning more money.
Before you speak, could I mention the fact that I was told the story of Madame Tinubu, who definitely was not in this generation, the generation before, whatever, that she was such a wealthy woman, but so humble and respectful that every time she came back home, she would kneel down, greet her husband with submission, and then serve him, and it was fine. You need to wire men differently.
Why do I have to do that?
No, I'm not saying you have to do it. It's the men that have issues. But we have some Jezebel-spirited women that even when they are not anymore, they have attitude. Not to talk of now when they have more money and they are telling their husbands, do you know I call men like you and send them on errands?
Okay, so
Which
that's
is it
different.
true?
We're discussing those that have...
Okay, so let me balance this. Culture is defined as the way of life of a people at every point in time.
Yes.
So which means culture is progressive, and culture can actually become a manipulative tool. So the question you ask in culture are questions like, who are the creators of this culture? What was their worldview? What was the thinking process, right? What was the exposure like before they created this culture? And that's why the culture of yesteryears may not work now. Now, I'll defer a bit to her because there are some women, attitudinal issue is a function of home training.
Yes.
Right? So I always say to people that, for example, when you go late for events or when you lie, those are home training issues. It just shows that the report card of your parents, failed when it comes to things like that. Right? So when it comes to respect for individuals, when it comes to things like insecurity, there is nothing anybody can do about it. Right? Because if a man that is insecure, no matter if you like, roll on the floor. That's why when I hear speakers who say, as a woman, you need to kneel down, and honestly, if my wife rolls down, right, I will feel offended. Because I married a human being. Yes. I did not marry a slave.
Hallelujah.
Right? So, I will feel offended because I don't kneel down, I don't prostrate to her. Right, so my wife is not, and people need to understand that. You see,
okay, let
me tidy this up, please. People need to understand that, ladies especially, you need to pass a man through the test of insecurity and low self-esteem before you say yes. I do.
You say yes.
All right, let me let you come in.
I think a lot of men in Nigeria in general are very insecure, and a lot of us are in denial. I grew up in a Yoruba German household, and seeing my aunts and my grandmother, they were always making more money than the men. But what they did was they were being diplomatic. And I think their daughters don't have to be. And I wouldn't expect it of my daughter. Why do you go into a relationship and humble yourself?
God bless you.
In 2018, let's be real here. I'm always using culture as an excuse. Yeah. I don't buy it. It's all about equality. And if we really want to progress as a society, we have to face that.
Let me come to Nima. Hang in there. Let me come to
Thank you,
Nima.
Bantu. What is wrong with being confident? I've seen women who had no confidence whatsoever. Once they started to own their own, earn their own money, they just sort of had this appealing confidence that so you can do this. Yes, I can. But this was why they never tried. So, and the way society now comes in and tries to say, they didn't train you. It's probably your, the way you were raised. You don't know how to humble yourself in the midst of many that, once you're tested with wealth, I don't understand. I think there are two different things.
Different things.
There are two different things, and we must distinguish between the two.
Right.
When a person is tested with wealth and is rude, that's a different thing. But when a person grows confident of herself because she's earning her own money, I think that and it's something that we should be commending.
Of human beings generally, of human beings generally, I had someone tell me this, a Yoruba proverb that says, "Tíyàn bá tí lówó lọ́wọ́, ìwà oníwà ló máa ń hù." Tó bá ti lówó lọ́wọ́ lẹ́sẹ̀ máa wọ wine, and it's for both men and women.
Yes.
Now, when you don't have means, you seem humble.
Yes.
But when you can bloody fool anybody, that's when we know what your true character is. Now, for men and women, whether you're wealthy or not, I think the intent behind your actions is what matters. You can't be submissive with an attitude.
Yes.
Yeah. You can't be. You can be submissive with an attitude. And people would say, oh, women are supposed to bow down. You know, men like to preach that, Ephesians 5, whatever.
Yes, so
that section alone. No.
Submission.
They don't say the one that says first honor your wife.
Submit one to another,
They want
actually.
I used to be married, and I realized that my family, my in-laws, used to preach Bible when it suited them, and then preach culture when it suited them. Because when it suited them to make me submit, they would preach that.
Let me pause for a second. I'm going to go to break because when I come back, I want Praise to address this blend of culture and religion.
Yes.
Because we always have that issue all the time. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
Thanks for staying with us. So continue the conversation. So Praise, the question I have for you is, people always use religion, culture, submit. You are the wife. You're the woman that holds the home. Or, you know, they put everything together and it's just so overwhelming. And men use this phrase and they just, you know, get on this high horse and, you know, always try to subject women. How do we not lose culture, not lose religion, but have a good blend of both?
Okay, now, I need to say this. Religion is a victim of culture. When religion came, any country religion goes to, the culture that religion meets is the culture it blends with. So Nigeria practices cultural Christianity and cultural Islam.
Yes.
Because the question you ask is, what Christianity is operating in Israel and US? Which Islam is operating in UAE, Dubai, and Qatar? Right? So it's a culture. So if the culture has been excellent and you bring religion, it becomes an excellent religion that promotes thinking. But where the culture is a subjective culture, it will meet a backward, so you see a manifestation of culture even in religion. Now, coming to Ephesians 5 that she quoted, if you start from the beginning, it says, submit one to another in the fear of God. So when you hear people teach things like, and I consider them to be jargons, you teach and say, the first need of a man is respect, the first need of a woman is love. It's not correct, right? Every human being needs to be respected. Every human being needs to be loved.
Simple.
That's all.
So you say things like, women are logical, men are emotional. Women are emotional, men are logical. It's not totally correct. There are women who are logical. There are men who are emotional. So we need to treat people based on who they are.
Thank you.
These are the problems because we have mixed a lot of the books we have read from people we have read it from. So you just see a mixture of so many things. So I always say to people, the balance is this. Any culture that doesn't promote equality, fairness, and love, and respect for humanity is a subjective culture. And it would
Not respect for gender.
But even religion promotes equality and love, because you read in the Bible that
promotes it.
I said which religion promotes it.
Like I said, religion is a function. It blends. So if you check the Jewish culture originally, right, it's almost like the Nigerian culture, but it has evolved over time. Now you have female rabbis now in Israel. Even the Islamic faith right now, there are countries right now that you have female imams. Even though they are fighting them and they're saying it's end time, right? So you see that as culture evolves, people begin to ask,
all right,
because...
Let me come to talk with...
It's end
time.
Let me talk with... Go ahead.
See, and I want to address what she mentioned, because, you know, sometimes, and I mentioned it the last time we discussed it, that your character, you might not know when you start reacting.
Changing.
You might start changing, and it's extremely subjective. Because you get into the, like for me, subtle. You get into the marriage, and this played out in this is my personal story. On getting married, was pretty naive, you know. I had this rose-colored, everything my husband said was good. As I grow, as I accomplish things in life, I became more confident. And I realized that I don't want to just bow. If you annoy me, I will tell you. For a long time, I was just be crying, and I can't even tell him that what he did was annoying. So now, when he annoys me, I'll just tell him, I say, Mark, I'm totally not happy about what you just did.
You have become assertive.
And I felt, in my mind, I felt that I'm expressing myself, and that I felt good. Until he now called me and made me realize that you have changed. And he had to tell me, he said, you have changed. And I felt like, no, because I'm now voicing my emotions does not mean that I've changed. He said, but I thought about it after. I have really changed. I now voice my emotions because I want to free myself. However, his mentioning it made me realize that I could have done it better.
Oh,
so
yeah.
imagine what money would do.
A Nigerian man's ego can't take that.
That's where I want to go. You see, there is how to say something.
Yes.
The problem is that nobody teaches you how to run a home before you get into it. And that's why we teach family system engineering. Now, there is a template. Now, what she's doing, a family is a nation. Every nation must have codes. So, for example, I can correct my wife and I can express my anger smiling. And I would say it, she will know how intense it is, but all of you around will be laughing. Right? So that's where the national codes of your home come into place. So if I say to my wife, for example, that, oh, where did you get that red wine that you served me? My wife knows I don't take red wine at all. And she knows it has to be very serious. If we agree to leave a function at 7 o'clock and 7:15, my wife meets an old friend and you begin to talk. If I walk up to her smiling and I say, sweetheart, don't you think we should just get an hotel and just spend the night here? I'm smiling. My wife knows I am not smiling, right? So a lot of people, you see, communication is not natural. You need to learn it.
Yeah.
Now, so there are things you can create. So for example, you can create what we call open day in your home. Open day is once a week. The rules in open day is, number 1, you are free to say what you want to say, using the word you want to say. Rule 2, nobody gets angry during open day, right? The goal is to prevent pet anger, and nobody becomes defensive when it comes to open day.
So we just
now,
vent
so
that
yes, when you do that, because let me say this to you, everybody is going to change in marriage. By the time you get to, when you get married, you were not fully yourself. You didn't know, in fact, you may have been damaged by your parents.
Yeah.
Interestingly, I did a research recently, and with women who have troubled marriage, some of them have gotten out of marriage. Consistently, I realized that a lot of them, if they were in their right frame of mind, they won't have married the men they married. Because many people in Nigeria, the personality they are manifesting is pseudo-personality. So let me give you an example. So this person who has been an introvert or an extrovert, right, suddenly at the age of 5, gets into child sexual abuse. Now, that child sexual abuse damages her that she now becomes introverted. So all her life, she feels she's an introvert. Now, she gets to marry, the man is an extrovert, looking for an introvert. Marries her because he feels this is an introvert who is quiet side of me. Now, 3 years into marriage, she encounters a transformational process, goes for a course, that now unearths the problem. Then her extrovertedness comes out.
Hey.
Thank you.
And then the guy is like,
You guys, where are you?
I'm going through
Let me take this call. Go ahead. Sorry for keeping you.
I am very, very happy to speak to you this morning. This is my first time of calling. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, this is the first time caller.
With clap.
Yeah, I'm so happy to speak to you. I'm really, really interested in your topic this morning. It's so, in fact, I feel fulfilled when you people are just discussing this morning. You know, because men are not what you think they are at the first time you're meeting them. For example, I have a lot of experience. Just yesterday, I was just thinking about this topic you were just discussing, and I'm like, how do I do it? And with him, what's the name of guest speaker this morning? Your guest this morning. In fact, he really bottled down my point.
Yeah.
You know.
Thank you very much, Onyeji. All right.
So I was going to say, sorry, that when I came into marriage, like you said, docile lady, I thought I was extroverted actually because I was a rocket in Unilag and I actually was known for being a rocket. But I came in docile because I'd had a relationship where a guy left me and it affected my self-esteem because he left me for a friend, right? So I came in feeling grateful that someone loved me enough to want to marry me, right? And then later, I started realizing what my worth was all over again. And by the time I started realizing, I was like, what am I doing here? If I had been in my right frame of mind, like you said, and I had been myself, the real me,
You may not
I
have
would not
married.
have settled for this guy.
Yeah.
Settled though for this guy because We didn't match each other.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, sorry, and then very quickly, a lot of men say that was even from a place of, emotional abuse or whatever. A lot of men say, I married the woman that was there when I was ready to marry.
Yes.
Not the love of my life, of my soulmate, or my most compatible partner. Because most people find their best friends compatibility when we're all kids and have nothing to prove.
Yes.
But we're not ready. By the time we're ready, CC is not available.
Even when you are ready, there's culture, tradition that disqualifies the person.
Yeah.
And that's another thing.
Yeah.
So you now hear is Igbo, is Hausa, and that disqualifies
Let me
the
take Chudi, then I'll come to Jumoke. Chudi, are you still there?
Yeah,
Go ahead. Thanks for calling.
1 minute.
yeah. Please, your topic this morning is very cool. All I want to say is that women changes when they start making wealth. That is clear. And no African man wants to take that from any woman except the educated ones. And for me, as a person, I don't see anything wrong in my wife making money more than me. I can take it from her. But the moment she starts bragging, talking about it, no man wants to take it. And you see, in marriage, everybody is equal. Nobody is superior. Nobody is there. In as much as the Bible says the man is the head, and blah, blah, we need to complement each other. The both of them need to complement each other, respect each other. The woman has right to use her salary, buy whatever she wants to buy, but courtesy demands that she can tell her husband, oh, sweetheart, I want to buy this. But she's not telling him to give him the audacity, the power to go and buy, but she's just doing that because she wants to respect the man, respect the head. Not that the man has right to stop her, don't go and buy this. She earns the money, she makes the money, so she has.
All right, thank you very much. You want to say something?
Well, I just find it amusing that a woman always has to go to her husband and verify whatever she wants to purchase. I mean, I find it disturbing, to be very honest with you. Because, no. You see, that is where I have a problem to say I'm German, and people come with the African argument. You're speaking for how many countries, a continent? I mean, let's relax here and let's be real. Yes. Please. I mean, do I see men going to women and saying, you know, sweetheart, I'm thinking of buying this car, I'm thinking of buying this suit or this shoe. They don't come. So we have to be real here. I think when it comes to relationships and marriages, especially in this country, a lot of women are under pressure. Yes. It's top on the bucket list. Men are very casual about it, like whatever, they're very laissez-faire. Women don't feel complete if they don't have a ring. And you notice it in relationships. So people don't take their time to get to know each other. They don't date long enough. They don't even kind of like discuss where they want to go to. You know, and then you can imagine. And it's really sad because you see a lot of women in abusive relationships and their mothers would tell them, hold on, have faith.
We have to go on a break, unfortunately. Let's take a break. When we come back, we'll continue the conversation. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
Thanks for staying with us. So, Jumoke, you're going to have
so going to solution. I know of a couple who the wife was a housewife. The man had a job and empowered her. She opened a beer parlor. The beer parlor grew. She became a worldwide distributor of this beer. Anytime the company had anything, they would invite her. She seemed like she was more powerful. I listened to her. She didn't think that she had changed. Her husband just became uncomfortable that she's now earning more money. She's now not available. She will only cook once in a while. She's getting house girl. She's getting this. She's driving big car. Now, the son of that man raised in the same home will probably have the same my wife must not earn more than me because of what his father had gone through. Praise, how do we resolve when that son now meets a girl like Jumoke who thinks that, I'm very outspoken, I'm educated, you earn money, I earn money, why should, go for she? How do we resolve it based on religion and culture?
The thing is this, and it goes back to, why do you want to get married? What exactly is marriage.
Companionship.
Right? I always say to people, marriage is the coming together of a man and a woman from two different nations to create a new nation whose culture will promote the best interest of all and will give our world rest.
All these nations are playing.
So what that means is, before we even talk about getting married, both of us need to be individuals. We need to be human beings. And you need to be able to respect me. You see, it didn't start a marriage. The moment a man looks at a woman and feels is superior without even listening to her, that's where this problem starts from, right? So we need to get to the point where before people get married, you need to come together
some
and
people
say...
don't find themselves until they're in their 30s and 40s.
Good.
So you don't marry
and that's
until
why you
then.
need
I
to
was
get
going to say,
help.
Mariah, that you're talking about the ideal situation in a lot of your statements, which is fine. None of us, most of us don't have the ideal situation.
We got married without knowing
most
ourselves.
of us were not whole when we coupled up with people.
Yes.
So what you need
So
to do...
what do we then
What you need to do in that wise is you need to build friendship afresh. Now, consistently, a lot of people have found out, a lot of couples don't talk about anything. The only time they don't talk about money, they don't even talk about their sex life. The only time they just make babies and, you know, and they cohabit. So you need to build friendship again. I mean, there are couples I'm working with right now that I've sentenced them to going to see movies every week. Right? So you need to talk mundane things. You need to be able to yab yourself, you know, and once you can do that, because those are things friends do.
So let's
right?
talk about bragging.
Yeah. Yes.
When a man buys a new car, bragging.
Yes.
A man buys a new car, he comes home, oh baby, I don't arrive, you know, and he talks about it.
Yes.
And a woman makes partner. She pays her way and she makes partner. And she comes home, oh boy, I don't make her, madam now. He's boasting.
I have a problem with a man buying a car to say I've arrived.
No, that's to his wife. You're talking at home.
So
You're talking at home, maybe in a family setting, and there are extended family members present. That's normal. Nobody looks at the man and thinks he's doing something abnormal, but a woman does the same.
Again, it is culture and lack of understanding your defined role as a husband. A husband is a bridegroom. A bridegroom is a groomer of a bride. That's what your job description is.
I'm talking about
bragging.
that attitude.
The bragging.
That everybody looks at. The attitude
Again,
thing.
you can't generalize.
Why is it different in society when it's the husband and when it's the wife?
But you see,
it's the same thing. Two of them have achieved something.
Let me tell you.
And everybody should be free
We
to brag
cannot
about
stop the men who have gone.
Yes.
The power the women have that they don't understand is you are the one growing the husbands of the future.
Exactly.
What are you
We're
teaching?
not the only ones.
What are you teaching your sons?
you for taking me
which
there.
is very critical.
Yes.
Now, because a lot of men don't even. I'm a hands-on dad, right? So my son, for example, is going to get in marriage. My son doesn't have a knowledge of women cook. He doesn't know that women's responsibility to cook. My son doesn't know at all. He doesn't know. Right? My son doesn't know that when you finish cooking, you leave your eating, you leave your plate, and your wife. He doesn't know. It doesn't exist in my family. Right. So my son is going to get married. He doesn't have the expectation of a woman coming to cook for him, because daddy cooks, daddy does dishes. He's learning by observation. So we can actually deliberately influence the future.
But see, I was hoping nobody would take me there. But you see, when a woman has so much information, knows the right thing to do, and you're living with somebody who doesn't want to know or doesn't know, and is clueless, and you know you want to birth a new nation.
Yes.
You want to train your children afresh. You want them to have new.
Let me teach you how to go about that.
How?
Let me teach you how to go about that.
Yes.
You see, so a lot of women go for seminars. In fact, almost all the seminars, all the trainings we iron, right? It's usually you have 29 women, 1 man.
Yes.
Yeah? So my fear has always been, these women will go back home with all this information, new knowledge.
And it will cause more problem.
Now, it's very simple. A man is most vulnerable when he thinks he's in control. So you need to deploy that tool, right? So if you have a cultural man, because that's what it is, who you are married to, you cannot go, and say you want to correct him. No. You suggest to him, right? So for example, if you want to get your man to write a family vision, you go and meet him. For example, if he's a cultural man, and say, okay, so that if you have an ideal of the family you want, what will it look like, right? So you are taking notes intentionally, right? But you are influencing him. So you go and now make that into a mission statement and come and show him and say, does this represent
what you said?
Okay, so daddy has spoken, you need to consistently, because that man has not overcome the need for his ego to be massaged. So you need to massage the ego.
What if what daddy spoke is a crop off?
Then you use
that thing.
is what?
What if what of rubbish that daddy spoke the rules and regulations for this nation is a crocker, and there needs to be a coup.
Now, you need to
What do we do?
you need to find a
What
way.
do we do?
You need to find a way to begin to push the boundaries through questioning. So you ask questions, you go deeper, right? You take him on. So usually when women are dealing with the cultural men, I always say to them, number one is if you want to present anything, pause. Right? When you pause and you think about what you want to say, then if it's not ready to receive it, postpone it. Of course, it's a longer, it's a longer route. It's a longer route, and that's avoidable if you don't marry that kind of man.
Let's take some tweets. Yes, Jumoke and Nima.
Afolayan says, my brother prays, dissecting the hot topic, women respect or disrespect men when earning more. Or on this morning. Very interesting conversation, I must confess.
Mr. Everett says, men change, women change. Haba, no, we no be wood. Our psychology would always be tested, even for the most educated person, no matter how much we want to overlook it. The solution lies in our abilities to communicate with our spouses.
PJ Comedian says, sometimes she might not be disrespectful but opinionated, but the man's ego will make him think she is. Uche says, family is like a country. There should be rules guiding certain things in the house, like the joint account. With that, there will be no issues. Uncle D says, nice topic this morning. Banky says, not all women disrespect their men when earning more. Some are still respectful and submissive and still the man, and still see the man as the head.
Okay. I want to appeal to our men.
We have to run off, yes.
Yeah, I want to appeal to our men because the women are always learning, and it feels a lot of women are the ones watching here now and are learning and taking notes to share. Can our men that are watching please take out their time to attend parenting conferences, attend counseling for their, because you don't. I don't want to have to drag you. Please take the initiative to build the home.
Boss you either.
Yes, build the home you want.
Thank you, Lady.
You can frustrate our.
There's a last question for Praise as we run off. Relationship Clinic says, good morning, ladies. Could you please let Praise talk about finding insecurities in a man before marriage?
I think let's make that another topic.
Okay.
We'll bring Praise back to expansion because we need to celebrate our guests. What are you working on, Oga?
We just released an album. It's called Agbero's International, the soundtrack of Lagos. And we just dropped our first single. It's called Lagos Barbie, the politics of hair.
Fantastic.
Yeah, natural and wigs and all that. We tell the sisters to take their wigs off and to wave it in the air.
Thank you very much, Praise. Always a pleasure having you. Thank you very much. We're going to bring you back again because we always get educated and informed each time you come. So thank you so much. And Lyda in the building. Thank you so much.
Where's my camera?
Oh gosh, you've never changed. Anytime you come around, please stop by. It's always a pleasure having you.
Thank you.
All right, that's all we can take. Don't forget to be part of our live audience every Wednesday. Please come early at 8 a.m. in the morning so you can get a seat. We can only do 30 people. Have a fabulous day. We'll see you tomorrow. We're going to end with Oga's song and start dancing. Thank you very much, Praise again.
International,
all right.
Yes, it is.
Sexy tonight, you're the star of the show. Hope you're feeling alright. The one way you set tonight is your night.